Right from when I started creating YouTube videos, I've always wondered what scam call centres looked like. But because it's difficult for me to get to Delhi, I've done the next best thing. I've got someone in Delhi to help me out. And that someone is Karl Rock. He's another YouTuber, and there'll be a good bit more about his channel later in this video. So between us, we've managed to expose yet another call centre. This one is called Renewed Technology of the Rohini district of New Delhi. And this video is going to describe how we managed to take this call centre completely out of action.
Critical alert from Microsoft.
Like a lot of other scam call centres, Renewed Technology pays a third party to divert a phone number to their call centre at certain times of the day whenever they have people ready to man the phones. These are two examples of the pop-ups which were used by this call centre. There's a UK and a US version of it. And of course this sort of pop-up deliberately freezes your PC and is an audible warning to try and attract phone calls. And it doesn't matter who phones the number, they will get young or old in any profession, including nurses.
Thank you for calling support. This side Mac, how may I help you?
Yes, my computer's beeping. It says someone signed on to my computer, and it's a suspicious activity, and I could get an infection from it.
I'm really sorry to hear that, ma'am. Can I ask you what exactly you was doing when you got that kind of a message or an alert, ma'am?
All I did was put in the American Heart Association. All I did was typed in AmericanHeartAssociation.org to print I'm a nurse and I took a CPR class.
These fake virus adverts typically reside on websites which are quite close to the real thing, but may be misspelled by a couple of letters. And now that he has the call, this scammer will attempt to get money out of his victim. When I phoned Renewed Technology, just like the nurse before me, they tried to convince me that it was a real virus and that I needed to pay something for new security. So most people who do fall for this sort of scam aren't even aware that they're a victim. I fast forwarded through the scam to the point where Steve Smith, whose real name is Mohammed Aftab, is trying to get me to pay for this software.
Our services and feel comfortable about it, sir. You can upgrade it at any point of time, sir.
He's typed in renownedcomputer.com. There's a link in the description, but I suspect this site won't be around for very much longer.
Always upgrade the security anytime. And we will be purchasing the security in front of you. Whatever we will be going to do, sir, will be done in front of you only, sir.
My keylogger shows clearly that his password is anshu@00. This is not an insignificant password.
And I need to tell you, sir, just need to let you know about it. In today's time, never use any device without a security, sir. You can see what we are putting is an advanced identity protector, sir.
Let's ignore his waffle here for a second and look carefully at the delivery address. The name is clearly Himanshu Nigam.
It will again come back without putting the security, sir.
As it turns out, Himanshu Nigam is the managing director of this company. The real name is Renewed Technologies, not Renowned Computer.
Write it down, my details on a piece. It's a Visa card or a MasterCard which you'll use for the payment, sir.
Whilst I'm keeping him busy pretending to pay him, I'm actually making a reverse connection to his PC and downloading some of his files. Some of the documents reveal that they have several different aliases. Renowned Computers is one, WebInfoTechLLC is another, and some of their older checks showed that they used the name Tech Philosophers LLC. But most revealing of all was a password protected spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, I had the full details of all of their victims and just how much money Renewed Technologies had made in the last 3 months. Nearly $90,000. There were other tabs in this spreadsheet which clearly showed that they pretended to be QuickBook tech support and also aimed their pop-ups at UK people. I even caught them creating their own robocall message. Have a look at this. They're using a text-to-speech demo, and here one of his colleagues called Alex is sending Alam the bit of text that he wants to create on the robocall. He then selects the type of voice that he wants the robocall to use, an American English female one. He'll want this voice to announce his own phone number, so he has it in a little post-it. He He grabs the number and he pastes it in to the window. He needs to do a few corrections like add a 1 in, but other than that, he's ready to try it out.
Network firewall detected security error due to suspicious activity found on your network or device. Contact security expert to fix it on 1-844-565-0595.
He spends a bit of time tweaking this to try to get it right. His English isn't particularly good, so he still leaves a few grammar mistakes in there, but eventually he gets to the point where he's happy with the audio and he has to then convert it to a format that the VCDAL software requires. He uses a bit of conversion software and ultimately uploads it to the robocall software VCDAL. So this is the message which is played to more than 23,000 people in the USA.
Network firewall detected security error due to suspicious activity found on your network. To fix this issue, please give us a call on 1-844-565-0595.
There were quite a few other audio files on that server, and absolutely none of them were anything to do with legitimate business. It was all scam calls. Their usual method of payment was by cheque, and not only did they want the front and back of the cheque, but they also required any of their victims to give them photographic ID. Here you can see one such victim showing his driver's license to his camera.
Move your hand.
One more thing from your side idea.
Okay.
Can I have your date of birth?
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Your date of birth, ma'am. Your date of birth, please.
Okay. Hold on.
The other pictures here are photographs of the cheque front and back that he's written out to WebInfoTechLLC.
Okay. So I'm holding the line. I'm working on it, ma'am.
Okay, just give me a moment. Let me crop this.
केक काटो यार 15 मिनट अभी लगेंगे कार्ड लेके आएगी आपका बर्थडे केक भी काटेंगे केक
The agents have been instructed to gather all of this personal information from the managing director of WebInfoTechLLC, a guy called Mihir Shah. This is a copy of the email he sent to Himanshu Nigam, or Anshu as he prefers to be called, showing what wording should be used between the victims and his company, WebInfoTechLLC. The victims are asked to agree with terms and conditions on the invoice. All standard stuff you'd think, except when you read the terms and conditions, it plainly says that although WebInfoTechLLC isn't a Microsoft partner, if you do have a complaint, there will be no refunds issued for any check or e-check processed, and in fact, they will charge you a $30 fee if you do complain. The renowned computer agreement also requires the victim not to raise any disputes or refunds in the future. That's one way of assuring your revenue, even if someone does discover that the whole thing is a scam. But even after the initial pop-up scam, would this company actually do anything to protect your PC? I observed the scammers uploading one of 4 files to the typical victim's computer. The files they uploaded were called anti-hacking, banking security, email security, and IP protection. VirusTotal checks each of the files against well-known antivirus vendors. It would give me a good indication whether these files were legitimate or really viruses. The first file, called Anti-Hacking, was nothing of the sort. It was a free program from Bleeping Computer LLC, which cleaned the registry. It had nothing to do with hacking whatsoever. The second, called Banking Security, showed up on way too many antivirus products for me to run this even on a VM, so I didn't run it at all. The third and fourth programs did exactly the same thing. One was called IP Protection and the other one was Email Security. They were just a batch file converted to an executable, and when run, just cleared the contents of the event viewer. None of this software would protect your computer. It was again another scam. But I still wanted to find out more about who these scammers were. I had the names of the managing directors, but who were the people manning the phones? This is why it's always useful whenever a scammer logs on to their personal Facebook page. Here we have Mohammed Aftab looking at a Facebook page called Call Centers Forum. These forum pages advertise legitimate business but also scams. When Aftab goes back to his personal page, I can see exactly who it is that's logged in. And from that Facebook page, it's possible to get a better look at the person who tried to scam me. This is what he looks like. And I was also able to find out the names of all of the other scammers: Praveen, Chander, Sonny, Manish, Shivan, Peter and Sahil. This spreadsheet shows that they're taking gift cards as payments as well. eBay, GameStop, Gateway, Xbox, Target amongst others. But I wanted to find out exactly where this call centre was. When I looked at Zubacorp for Renewed Technology Private, it gave one address. But yet, when I looked at Google Maps for Reowned Computer, it gave a completely different address. Close by, but still I didn't know exactly where this was. So this is where I needed a bit of help from my friend Karl Rock. Karl is originally from New Zealand, but he now lives in Delhi, and he produces lots of videos on what it's like to live in India. Some of those videos include all about scammers and travel safety, but he also has a much more realistic view of the rest of India. I would really encourage you to have a look and subscribe to Karl's channel. Karl's channel will tell you about the real India and how much Indians actually hate the people who are running scams. Please take a look. So thanks to Karl and another one of my subscribers, I managed to get a number of pictures of this call centre. It sat above a solicitor's office in Rohini in Delhi. The agents only operated at night time because that was the US daytime. There was no obvious signage that this was indeed Renewed Technologies Private Limited, so Karl's wife asked the solicitors downstairs whether there was a call centre above them. She confirmed this, and I've linked to Karl's version of the video down below. He wasn't able to see into the offices because, as you can see, there's some blackout curtains. There was usually a window open and they seemed to be using it as an ashtray. The agents would use a door at the side of the premises whenever the US shift started. But it seems that this call centre was only half the picture. I observed some of the scammers trying to get remote access to another PC to configure some of the VoIP clients. This wasn't unusual, except that it was a scamming operation in another city. Some of the phone numbers referred to Doon, and some of the PC names in that remote call centre were called Dexter. I also discovered a PowerPoint presentation called Dexter's Communication. This seemed to be the other call centre that they had remote access to. And the presentation included some very interesting photographs inside Dexter's Communication in Dehradun. And it also confirmed the location of the second call centre. Here you can see at the bottom, it's in Doon Express Business Park, hence the Doon, in Dehradun. And some phone numbers to go with it. The slides also showed the type of work that the business were engaged in. Some domestic work for IndiaMart and GST, that seemed to be legitimate, but the international also included WebInfoTechLLC, Renowned Computers and Cyberonium Marketing. And perhaps not surprisingly, it showed that Himanshu Nigam, who was the Director of Renewed Technology, was also Director in Dexter's Communication Private Limited, together with two other directors. I also observed this group buying their pop-ups. This is a Skype session from Anshu or Himanshu Nigam, and he's speaking to somebody called Tapan Meena. They would create a small Skype chat group, and within that they would negotiate the number of calls and start and stop campaigns to reach Himanshu's call centre. They didn't run their own robo-dialing software, and instead they rented it from the likes of Mukul Gur, who you can see on this Skype chat, for a cost. On the right hand side you may be able to see that they regularly recharge this dialing software. This is to ensure that they can still receive inbound and outbound calls. The likes of Mukul would give Himanshu's team all that they needed to configure their dialing software to enable those robocalls. If these centres are ever raided, the likes of Mukul and the people who sell the pop-ups really ought to be part of any raids. They are as much responsible for these scams as the people on the end of the phones. So this Multigo picture, which I'll make available in the description below, summarises the whole situation. We have a company called Renewed Technology in Delhi, which is owned by Himanshu Nigam, who's also the director of Dexter's Communication. Both of these companies buy VoIP services and pop-up services from various people around them in India. They make use of these services in order to scam people, mostly in the USA. When they do get victims in the USA, they will process the check payments through WebInfoTechLLC.com. This is a company which is owned by Mihir Shah in the USA. The various call centre agents will use a number of company aliases to collect these payments, either WebInfoTech, Webmasters or Tech Philosophers. Having multiple sites allows them to continue their business even if one gets shut down. All very clever. So now that I knew how the whole organisation worked, it was time to dismantle them, and I started with their phone numbers. What you're looking at here is the scammer managing their phone service. It's provided by a legitimate company called therealpbx.com, and they supply the US phone numbers which these scammers in India use. However, what I'm just about to do is flood those phone numbers. The call blasting software is supplied by scammerblaster.com, and as the name suggests, it's a very effective way of taking a phone number out of service. I've left a link to this in the description below. So I picked all of the numbers, and over the next few days I consistently blasted these numbers with various floods. And you're probably wondering what it's like to be at the receiving end of one of these call floods. Well, have a look at this.
Thank you very much for क्या हो रहा है कस्टमर सर्विस वाले पे लग गया कंटिन्यूअसली 4 कॉल यार 4-5 कॉल एक ही साथ में कस्टमर सर्विस पे
And don't forget that every one of these calls is not only costing these scammers some money, but it's tying up the phone lines so that real victims can't even get through. Win-win. I also did the right thing and reported these numbers to therealpbx.com, where they had most of their US phone numbers, and ringcentral.com, where they had some UK versions. When the call flooding started, Renewed Technologies didn't know exactly what to do, so they got in touch with their VoIP provider, and I could see them having an online conversation with one of the agents. For some reason, our scammer just doesn't know how to explain that he's getting bombarded by these calls. Our scammer tries to explain that there's lots of these prank calls, and the helpful agent suggests that perhaps the phone number was submitted to the wrong campaign. The scammer explains that they're not customers or even people, but they're actually songs playing. And the big advantage with scam blasting is that they're random numbers every single phone call, so there's no way that they can just ban a single number. That won't stop it. The ever helpful agent suggests that a way around this is to get the customer to press a button. So this will reduce the number of calls reaching agents, but they will still be charged for every single call. But they still can't quite work out why they're getting all these calls. Everything was okay until that day, and the agent again suggests that someone is trying to hamper their business. They say they haven't shared these numbers with anyone, so they're still confused as to why they're getting the calls. Finally, they suggest that they need to replace the 2 numbers that they've been given. So, to my absolute delight, they ordered 2 new phone numbers. And guess what my next move was? But call flooding was only part of the way to bring down this call centre. I noticed that they also used authorised.net for their payments. And the payments were substantial, over $500,000 in the space of nearly 3 years. So I wrote to Authorise.net and provided them some audio and video of the scams in action. But I couldn't rely on this alone. Most victims of this scam won't even know that they're a victim, so I decided to write to every one of the people that I'd found on their customer list. In the email, I pointed out to each victim that it was a scam and how they should go about getting their money back. They should approach their bank or credit card company and ask for a refund. I also confronted the owners of Renewed Technology and WebInfoTechLLC.
Can you refund them?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you started doing that?
We started making, like I said, we have started making the calls. If they ask for a refund, we will.
No. Not if they ask for it. If you've taken money off them under fraudulent circumstances, you don't need to have the excuse that they didn't ask for their money back. You should be just giving it back.
No. We are not giving it back because if they want the support to continue, we are supporting them.
Ridiculous. They were scammed into getting services from your company. You should return this.
I told you my side of the story. You are free to do whatever you want.
So you actually want to keep their money, yeah?
If they will ask us for a refund, we will refund them.
Okay, that's fine. You stick with that then, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
And next, I go after Himanshu. I confront him with all of the evidence before he finally admits what he's going to do next.
Okay, so Ronnie would like to tell you, I've already shut it down. Everything is shut it down, and what else you want to know?
Well, I would like to know, are you really going to shut down, or do we have to keep flooding those numbers? The blaster, does it need to keep going?
No. I only do the genuine work.
So you're going to stop scamming, are you?
Not do anything wrong.
You're not doing anything wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of the people that you've taken money from via your various company names, Renowned Computers and WebInfoTech and Tech Philosophers, you're going to shut all that operation down, yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to.
Okay.
Are you really going to shut them down?
Yes.
Well, okay. So when does that happen?
We already wrapped up everything. If you got this much information, then you must have aware about that we started calling to our customers who are not happy, and we have already told the customers that we are going to refund the money and all everything.
And of course, I didn't believe one word he said to me, but what was clear was that he was really going to shut down the operation. I observed as I started to delete all of the files, not only on the local PCs, but on the servers that they used to store important information. So with a bit of perseverance, we've finally managed to get one call centre shut down, if only temporarily. So thank you to all my patrons who give me the time to make all of this possible. I really appreciate all of the support that you give me, and with any luck, together we can bring down more of these call centres in the future.